the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome to the Landing Strip with Nick Lynham and Mikey Garcia, presented by From Financial.
Welcome back to the Landing Strip. After Game 31, looks different than most of the first 30 hockey games. As Choices TK says over on Twitch, where the hell has that been? Best game of the season. That's got to be the best game since Game 5 versus Dallas in the second round last year, no?
Yep.
We talked about this after the Montreal-Buffalo game. I wasn't buying on that being the blueprint or that being the turning point. I will say, you put consistent efforts like this one. This is the blueprint. This is what you want the Winnipeg Jets to look like on a consistent basis if you want to make believers out of myself, out of whoever's in our chat that doesn't agree. These are games where I see old Jets fan 66 on Twitch says, not sure whether to be happy or pissed that we'll be picking 5th in 26 instead. This is a type of performance I think you got to be excited to see from your hockey team, especially on home ice, especially with how bad things have been going. This is a night I want to enjoy it. How are you doing tonight, Mikey?
Oh, man, I'm good. I know the chat is good after that one, and there's only one way we can kick off the show.
That.
Oh, so good to be back.
So good to be back indeed. I'll kick it over to you first, as usual, Mikey, and we'll start diving through the chat. Biggest takeaway from you, leaving the Winnipeg Jets versus Washington Capitals game on this Saturday evening?
You know, there's a lot of discussion online about how this feels like, the Jets are back. This is the version of the Jets that, we were used to, seeing last year. This is what we've become accustomed to. And I think that there's no coincidence that in a game where this felt the most like a 2024 Winnipeg Jets game, that the roster construction in this one looked the most like a 2024 Winnipeg Jets roster. Your top 6, your top 9, however you want to look at it, is a top 9 you could have iced last season. The only big missing piece is the piece that left in free agency there. Your changes, your big, free agent additions up front played on the 4th line tonight. This felt the most like it, and I think there's no coincidence that your forward lineup looked the most like 2024. Plus, this was 2024 Dylan Samberg. He is back, baby. This was the Dylan Samberg we got so used to seeing, absolutely dominant out there. It gave the Jets 2 number 1 pairings again, which means that you didn't have to put everything on Morrissey's shoulder. This was, this felt the most like the team that we were willing to give the benefit of the doubt to at the beginning of the year. And like you said, if they can string together, 4 or 5 games in a row where they just look like this, results, to the side, just if they can come out and look like this, I think we're much more willing to say that this is the spot where they're back.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out the Dylan Samberg thing because, as you know, I'm a big believer in Dylan Samberg's value in the Winnipeg Jets. And he has had a tougher start coming back from injury. This game and last game, I've seen the guy I'm used to. Last game, at 5-5, the Jets won Dylan Samberg's minutes 19-2 in scoring chances and 9-0 in high danger chances. Tonight it's 23-14 in shot attempts.
And 7-0.
7-0.
In high danger.
7-0 in high danger. And 75% of the expected goals. Dylan Samberg finding his game is a big piece of the Winnipeg Jets looking like themselves from the team of last year. Getting depth scoring. Holy smokes, and some puck luck in that Alex Iafallo goal.
The own goal.
Where has that been?
Yeah. It's got to, hey, it had to balance eventually, right? You can't have, we got so used to the last few weeks of everything that could go wrong going wrong for the Winnipeg Jets, right? You know, everybody has them. Everybody's got those days where, man, nothing's going right. Everything's going against you. This was the opposite tonight for the Jets. Everything broke their way. All the bounces went their way. They got some puck luck. They got some good calls. Yeah, you need these games once in a while to just freshen back up.
Yeah, and to touch on the chat before jumping onto my big takeaway. Gordy Angus said the team wasn't good before Helly went out, obviously, but the confidence the team plays with when he's in net is crazy. And Matthew Hyman says, now, can they show any consistency moving forward? And I think that is the biggest question anyone and everyone should have leaving this one, because this is the blueprint. This is what you want to be putting together as often as possible. You've now shown that you're capable of it. And if this team wants to go on the type of run where they're going to be competitive, this is the model to look at moving forward. But to touch on Mr. Angus's point here, the team wasn't good before Helly went out, but obviously the confidence, it's very obvious the confidence the team plays with when he's in net is crazy. One of my biggest takeaways today, it's Hellebuck related, but it's not, because my biggest takeaway today was Connor Hellebuck came back, but the Winnipeg Jets didn't need him to be Connor Hellebuck to win this hockey game. This was the best full top-down team effort we've seen in 31 games from the Winnipeg Jets tonight. And I don't even think there's even a game to put up beside it to debate it.
No.
You got contributions throughout the whole lineup. I was a big fan of how Morgan Barron and Adam Lowry looks next to each other.
Cool.
Draw a couple penalties, but that goal, Morgan Barron gets a step driving to the net, and Lowry gets that pass through goal. Alex Iafallo gets puck luck, but as we said during the bad times that sometimes you got to create your own puck luck, right?
Yep.
Adam Lowry and Morgan Barron are both driving the crease, driving the net, and Alex Iafallo sends a puck that way, trying to find one of them. And it banks off a Washington Capital and in. On a night where they got the MVP back at their lowest point in the season, what I love most about this game from the Winnipeg Jets, they didn't need their MVP to be their MVP. This was a game that everybody in front of Connor Hellebuck deserves full marks on.
Yep, 100%. This was a 4-line, maybe not quite 3 pairing. I know Stanley had that goal again today as he continues his offensive assault on the league. Quick question for you. Over under, Logan Stanley, 11 goals, 25 points.
I'm going slight under on goals.
Ooh, yeah, you think it's going to dry up
points.
here? He's on pace for 16. That would be the second most in Winnipeg Jets 2.0 jersey.
I'm going under.
Under? All right.
I will say that goal was right on my end. Sick.
Unreal.
Sick.
What was he doing there? What was he doing down? What? I still don't understand what developed in the play that he ended up beside the net there.
Great read. He saw Josh Morrissey doing what Josh Morrissey does best, and that's walking the line. And as Josh Morrissey walks the line, Logan Stanley makes a great read.
Yeah,
and
wonderful.
And trust Josh Morrissey to do what Josh Morrissey does. And Morrissey gets one through. And the perfect deflection swing. I'm ready to find a compromise for both of our teams here.
Yep.
The Toronto Blue Jays should be signing Logan Stanley with how much money Rogers is throwing out this year.
Oh,
let's go get Logan a bag.
Incredible.
While he tries to step up in the batter's box. He's our Aaron Judge. Counteractive.
Too good.
I will say, speaking on the Stanley stuff, unironically, so excited about that goal. That was sick.
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
The offensive numbers and the fact that now, right, he's outright by himself, fourth.
Yep.
On the team in 5-on-5 goals.
You got it.
I think I might have arrived at the whole let's try him as a left winger thing.
We did it. We tried it with Bufflin. We tried it with Party. We've been working at it over the years here. We've wanted to turn a defenseman into a winger so bad. We may have found the one.
Maybe you take away where things are tough for him, and that's moving backwards and reading the game backwards and figuring all that out.
Yep.
But you get the fact he's a quality player from the offensive blue line in.
Yeah.
Actually, I was at family's surprise birthday party last night, and my grandpa, bit of a Don Cherry vibe to him at times, pulled me aside. He's like, "You know what the Winnipeg Jets need to do to try and get things going here? Logan Stanley up to the wing, and then on the PP we got to put him net front. We're going that. We're gonna turn him. We're gonna do the reverse Buff here.
Oh.
Buff went from forward to D.
Yep.
I might be ready for the Logan Stanley left wing experiment as we move him from D to forward in this team's search for more offense. If he's gonna make plays like that, it was sick, man."
Look, I'm into it under one condition. He's got to work with Gabe Vilardi just every day, just net front, just tipping pucks in. Then I'm in. I love it.
Old Jets fan, and kind of what we're talking about here. Old Jets fan 66 says Stanley has better offensive instincts than defensive. This is not a shot. He should lean into them.
Yep.
And this was the type of player he actually was in junior.
Yes.
Where he was like the fourth best defenseman on that OHL team. And even at that size, he wasn't a physical defensive prowess.
No.
He was an offensive player in junior. I think old Jets fan nails that.
Yeah, 100%. Choices TK in the reply echoes what we've been saying this whole time. Something I've been harping about with Stanley is Choices says he always wanted to be the offensive D-man, but the Jets were determined to make him a shutdown physical defender. And he just was not in the right role, essentially. They wanted this big, hulking monster of a guy, and that just really wasn't, his game. I've always joked that Colin Miller is his better comp. Just work with Miller. Learn how to get that shot through. Get that, walk the blue line a little bit. Learn from Morrissey in that aspect. But, yeah, it's nice to see the offensive touch there for Stanley, finally getting there.
I like this question, too, from Matthew Hyman. I'm going to ask you it, Mikey. It was a nice play. But am I the only one that expects pro athletes to make that play, though? I know Stan is arguably the least likely to score that one, but pro athletes should have good hand-eye. Is this something we should expect? Is this something we should see more from NHLers? What do you think there?
Ooh, I would like to say, sure, of course we'd want to see that more. But it's just, man, the game moves at such an incredible speed. That puck is fucking tiny. Your stick is tiny. And then to know to be in that spot, to make that right read, to get into position, they should have good hand-eye, absolutely. But, I don't know. That's still a tough play in my eyes. It's the same as saying, every single Major League Baseball player should be able to knock home runs out of the park every single time. It's like that. No, there's a lot going on around them, and the guys that do it consistently are the elite guys for a reason, right? So, no, I'm gonna still give this one to Stanley as being a pretty cool and a pretty good shot.
It definitely was, and to add to it, it's the movement at the same time as the hand-eye, right? He's making a play towards the net. It's not like he's standing still and takes a swing.
Yeah.
I do think that just adds a degree of difficulty, and we don't see it as much. And I do wonder if it's because we're seeing athletes specialize in singular sports compared to how they used to play, where you might have seen a player playing lacrosse in the summer or baseball, and you've heard Gretzky really harp on that conversation for years now. I do wonder about the specialization a little bit. I would expect a Nino Niederreiter to be able to make that play no problem. And he's talked about how right from when he entered the league, that was something that he worked on over and over again. But that is a good question because that is we are talking about the pinnacle of athletes. And I do think it's fair to have some expectations to pull off stuff like that where people like us get excited about it, but you should have that standard for them. But I do think this is just a real impressive play. And the one thing I'll give Stan credit for, too, his sellies after goals are absolutely electric.
They are.
Electric. That man knows how to get fired up after a goal in the NHL.
Yep. It's true.
So we've talked Stan. We've talked Sandberg. Both guys that have had tough moments at times. We've talked about them. This player has been getting a beating on the decor, and I thought this was one of his best games. Dylan DeMello. We know it hasn't been his best start to the year, but I thought we saw that defenseman that keeps it simple. There's early on in the game, he makes a great pinch, and it lets the top line and the top pair hem in Washington and try and create something. Once they get the whistle, the next line comes out and builds off that shift. And we've talked about how this team, when they're at their best, they do build off shifts. They try and end shifts in the ozone, and they build off momentum, right? Dylan DeMello, I thought we saw him breaking up plays in the neutral zone before they became dangerous again. Liked what I saw from that top pair. What did you see from Dylan DeMello today in what I thought was one of his best games of the year?
Yeah, it was like we talked about right to break off the show. This was a much more classic game from Dylan DeMello. He didn't have a lot of the issues that had been plaguing him up to this point. He wasn't behind the play. He wasn't catching up to guys a step too late. He was making really good reads right across the course of the game here. So when you've got the ability to have DeMello have a quietly just good game, solid next to Morrissey, you've got Sandberg back dominating on that second pair, everything just looks so much easier for the Winnipeg Jets. When they can have those two pairings both going, have DeMello out there, and just that's exactly the game that you want to see from him. He doesn't have to be spectacular. He doesn't have to be the one walking the blue line like Morrissey. As long as he's making good reads and playing that support role like he did today, it just looks so much easier for the team, and we need to see that going forward.
No, we definitely do, because I had gotten a comment on Twitter after this game about we haven't seen the Winnipeg Jets shut down a team quite like that defensively in a while. And obviously that was where this team was at its best last year, and everything built off of that. Against a team that I think has one of the better chances in the East this year.
Yep.
For them to do it at that standard is really something I do think we should be impressed with. I think you're completely right. We see the top four both control their minutes, and things move forward for the Jets from there. On a bit of that topic, because I thought the Winnipeg Jets did a really great job across the board today, getting stops, getting pressures, and turning it back up ice. On a night where they didn't need Connor Hellebuck, there was a little piece of his game that I do think helped the Winnipeg Jets in that pursuit of moving the puck up quicker and changing the direction of flow of play. And it's kind of funny given where his career started in this regard. One thing I noticed today is how often he would get out and actually make the stop behind the crease and really settle things down for the defenseman to then turn it up ice and break out. And I don't think that's a club that's really in Eric Comrie's bag. Does Connor Hellebuck, is he more than just the soul of this? Does he help the Winnipeg Jets timing-wise when it comes for them being able to turn the play up ice?
Look, I think Connor Hellebuck is still the best goaltender in the National Hockey League right now. He is your reigning MVP. He is your reigning Vezina Trophy winner. I'm still not comfortable when he's handling the puck back there. I know it's gotten better, especially today. Today was a good example of it being much better than what we've been kind of conditioned to see in the past. But I still get that twinge of fear every time he's back there handling the puck. But it did go well today, so if the results keep going that way, great. That is a huge help because, like you said, Comrie doesn't really have that in his arsenal. And it becomes such a big help to have that, quote unquote, third defender back there to distribute the puck quickly if you can. I'm still a little bit wary of the Connor Hellebuck puck handling mishaps from the past.
Understandable. Another aspect, and I think this is a great touch from Caitlin Doucette as well. It also helped that not every rebound was kicked straight into the middle of the ice. I didn't think Connor Hellebuck had to make many big saves, and the ones he did, he was up to it. Washington gets their only goal on a 5-on-3 late in this game. Hey. And it is the little things that he brought to this one on a night where he didn't really have to be the savior, which, honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, coming into this game, I was expecting that was the effort they were going to need from Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah, if we had come out of this game where they played the same level of effectiveness that we've seen for the past few weeks, but they squeaked out a 1-goal win because Hellebuck went God mode, there'd be a very different tone to the show tonight. This would not be a celebratory lap. We'd be going, no, this is still bad, everybody. We're not there. So the fact that they didn't need Connor Hellebuck to be, Connor Hellebuck, and they still put in a dominant win is huge. This is, Scott O'Neill talked about it at the end of last game. It doesn't matter who's in the net if you're going to be giving up terrible chances all night and, turning the puck over and all of these things. They made sure to clean up the game in front of the goalie so that he didn't have to be a world beater. So that on the nights where he does, if they are having, a singular bad night, you can lean on that and go, that's okay. It's just one night, as opposed to they need him to be that every single game. So yeah, this would have been a very different tone if it had gone that way.
No, I completely agree. That's what, like I said right off the top of the show, I think this is where it's the most impressive thing from the Winnipeg Jets. We talked a little bit about the D and some of the guys that have faced criticism having some big nights. What about the forwards? We go back to the top line is back together.
Yep.
We get a new look in the bottom line for the 100th time in 31 games.
Yep.
But on this night, I was very impressed with what I saw from each forward group. We get Iafallo, Lowry, Barron, which is a bit of a new look. Fourth line, we get Koepke, Taves, Nyquist. Second line, we get Perfetti, Nemestikov, Nino. What did you think of the Winnipeg Jets forward group today? What did you see out of the group?
So I'm going to start with the Adam Lowry line. They were dogs tonight. This was, we talked about classic Dylan Sandberg. This was classic Adam Lowry. This was we finally getting to see the team from last year, right? So they were dogs all night. They were winning battles down low. They were pushing guys out to the perimeter. It was wonderful to watch. Morgan Barron and Adam Lowry as a pairing really highlights why we've been harping that we want to see Kyle Connor paired up with Adam Lowry. Because when he can use another player's speed, it's why he worked well with Nick Ehlers as well. When he can use another player's speed to get them the puck into space, magic can happen, right? So we're lucky that Barron does have a tiny bit of finishing in there. We've seen it pop up here and there with some pretty nice goals. But if you gave them like a consistent score with that kind of speed, you'd be looking at a real powerful second line. But yeah, I thought they were great tonight as a third line. The forecheck was good. They were they were absolutely all over them. The second line, still not quite there, I think, especially if we are still going to consider this team a contender, right? If they want to be, pushing for the playoffs and all that stuff, I still think that second line's not good enough. Well, hey, I can only go with what the team is telling us, right? So if that's the standard and that's where the bar is, then the second line still isn't quite good enough in terms of being a second line. And then your fourth line was good. They were fine tonight. That's your free agent line, the big money line again tonight. They didn't get destroyed. They didn't get hemmed in. They didn't create, a lot of grade A offensive chances. I think Taves had one really nice look at a spot there. But, if we're going to be rolling three third lines, essentially, is what the Jets kind of makeup is right now, with that top line being the dominant one, I'm okay with it because it feels like they can grind out some wins that way. They can muck up the neutral zone when they need to. It's just I still don't think it's quite good enough of a construction to be a contending, playoff team. But considering what they have in-house right now, I think this is maybe your best look if they're not going to break up Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, which we know, there's nothing under the sun that's going to make that happen. So.
Yeah, not even his comments, eh? We're going to have to get into that. I saw you highlighted them earlier. Liked what you know what to expect from the first line.
Yep.
You give them an inch, they're going to take a mile, and Matt Roy gives them multiple inches on that last goal, putting that on a platter for Mark Scheifele, who finds Kyle Connor, who then finds Gabe Vilardi backdoor for the last one there. We know what to expect from those guys. I don't think anything's a secret there. Really liked the AI Lowry Barron group. I think you absolutely nailed it. For a group that's struggled to establish a forecheck this year, I thought you saw it from that group. You see, like you mentioned, Lowry and Barron really work off of each other really well up the ice with that speed factor of Barron pushing things off and letting Lowry work with space a little bit. I want to see more of it. Really, really liked what I saw from that group. For me, I wasn't there on the Nemestikov, Nino, Perfetti group. Perfetti is still just a guy for me at this point in time, and that's where I'm at until further notice. each line did come ahead on the expected goals battle on this night, which we haven't seen at all this year, I don't think.
Nope.
The fourth line, yeah, quite the big investments to be playing fourth line.
Best
But
fourth
they don't
line in the
hurt
league,
you on
according
this
to
night?
Kevin Sawyer.
What's that?
Best fourth line in the league, according to Kevin Sawyer.
Oh, yeah, I roll. But they don't hurt you on this night.
No.
They win their minutes. So I imagine we're going to see this again. I think it worked on this night. They're going to need more from the group that played the second most minutes. Very impressed with the Lowry Barron thing. As usual, let's see where things go.
Yep, absolutely. It's we know for sure that guaranteed they're going to roll this this lineup into the Ottawa game. I'm real curious to see if the game looks the same, if the effort looks the same, if the forecheck looks the same, if the neutral zone play looks the same. I'm real curious to see how that game's going to go.
A couple other places I want to go with the show tonight. Let's talk about the PK quick. Obviously, it's been a big problem. Kalen Doucette has a theory here. Another aspect on the PK is that Comrie, they were so focused on trying to get a block because they didn't trust Comrie to make a save. They never pressured the puck area. Though from what I saw, it was they would pressure the puck area late, which would open up lanes and create some tic-tac-toe movement. So I don't know if I buy it necessarily. Also mentions he had a great game, but I can't believe Lowry missed that shorty. Kyle Connors sets up Lowry backdoor. Couldn't believe he missed it. But on this night, the Jets go shorthanded 5 times, only allow 1. Things felt calmer. Things didn't feel as dangerous. Did the penalty kill maybe turn a corner today?
They definitely looked a lot better tonight, not just because they kept out 4 of the 5 attempts, but just because the way that they operated out there. Scott Arniel touched on it during his post-game comments that the penalty kill needs to be in sync to be successful. You've got your one guy who's going to be trying to pressure, and then you've got the support guys behind. If they are not moving together, if they are not communicating it in sync, the penalty kill is just going to look off. It's going to be bad, and that's what we've seen the last few weeks. And he credited them tonight for being way more in sync with each other, their communication being a lot more, and that he attributed that to the success for the penalty kill, and I kind of agree with that. I felt like tonight they were in sync a lot more. They supported the pressure, and like you said, the pressure was getting there on time today, not about a step and a half too late, which was opening up the problems that they had. So I'm not sure too much that it was they were trying to get blocks because they didn't trust Comrie. I just agree that they were out of sync and just not really in time, and penalty kill is so much about timing.
Yeah, and the way things had been going of late, if you would have told me that the Winnipeg Jets gave a team like Washington 5 power plays, and then you told me that they won the game 5-1, I would not have believed you.
Yep.
Just based on where things have been of late, not a chance would I have believed you.
Yep, 100%. And as for the Lowry thing, unfortunately, that is Adam Lowry. We have seen that be a feature in Adam Lowry's game right from day one. He is a great guy, a great defensive player and all this stuff, but he's got stone hands when it comes to that finish right around the net a lot of times. So I wasn't shocked that he missed that shorty. It's kind of expected at this point.
Yeah, no, for sure. Quick spot I want to go here. Funny way to transition to this point. But as you know, Mikey, I'm a sucker for the 1,000th games celebrations.
Yeah.
We get our 4th in Winnipeg today. Nino Niederreiter, 1,000 games. Let's talk about Nino quickly here and his career. Nicholas at night says, I wonder how much True North paid Patrick Fisher to tell Nino he was going to win a cup with the Jets in his tribute video. But Nino becomes the first Swiss-born player to hit 1,000 games in the NHL. Does it in a pretty unique fashion where he was a top 5 pick, and then the rest of his career ends up playing in 5 orgs, and it felt like every org that traded him was worse off for the trade. You go Nino leaving Long Island for Cal Clutterbuck. And I know Cal Clutterbuck became a staple for Long Island, but he became a staple as a 4th liner. Nino Niederreiter, a lot better than that. He then inexplicably gets traded for Victor Rask, if you remember that one.
Yeah.
He was a 4th line center getting paid $4 million plus. Moves to Nashville. I can't remember what that trade was. I think it was a pair of mid-round picks, though. Maybe a 2nd-round pick.
2 picks, yeah. 2nd and 4th, I think.
And then Kevin Cheveldayoff, one of the moves that excited me the most and him retooling in depth was only paying a second for Nino Niederreiter. He gets a Roger Federer shout out.
Huge.
In his 1,000th game ceremony. Becomes the first guy from his country to hit such a mark. And he's handsome. Like, some dudes just have it, eh?
That's just not fair. And also, like, from the interviews and everything, he legitimately seems like the nicest, down to earth. You know, they were talking to him about growing up playing hockey and things like that, and a story about how he, growing up would never smash his stick on the ice, no matter how frustrated or angry or whatever he got, because his mom told him that shit was expensive and she wasn't going to buy him another one. Just little things. He's like, so I kept that with me my whole career all the way through. It's expensive, and I remember. I love shit like that when you get to see a little bit of their actual personality come through. So, yeah,
sure.
Massive milestone for Nino. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, what a career, too. Like, a consistent 15 to 25 guys from a country that's never really produced a talent like him. Seems like a great dude. He's been a great addition to the Winnipeg Jets. I'll never forget, I think it was his first game when he throws the big hit to start things off to introduce himself to the Winnipeg Jets faithful. Yep. His game might be sliding with age a little bit compared to where it was, but really do respect the career Nino Niederreiter has put together, and pretty cool for him to get that ceremony in Winnipeg tonight. The silver's sick. I'm a sucker for that, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's hard not to look at that and go, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's such a cool accomplishment. Like, we saw Brendan Dillon breaking down last week about it, and all he had ever wanted to do was play one, never won 1,000.
Yep.
It's a lot of games, man. As Nick Ehler said in the video, it's a lot of games, Bubba.
Yeah, that's a lot of games. Like, when you think about it, right? If you're completely healthy and you're playing every single game, everyone, you're a lineup staple, you play it for a decade straight through, you're still 200 games short.
Yeah,
it's unreal the amount of longevity that he's had. And like you said, he's been traded a bunch and always for weird amounts and things. But I think I think the fact that he's been traded so much is more a testament to the kind of player that he is, that teams are trying to go out and grab this guy for playoff runs. They're trying to add him as rentals because they see the additions that he brings to you. So yeah, I totally agree. One of my favorites, things that we ever heard was, how much did they trade for Nino? That's it. That's fantastic. It was, yeah, wonderful achievement, and real happy to see. Who do you think could be the next Jet to hit 1,000 games?
Honestly, I wouldn't even know where to start. I haven't even looked at the numbers. Why? Who do you got pegged for that?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't had a chance to look, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, I love those things. And like you kind of just alluded to, like when I heard the Jets trade for Nino, and I was told it was for a second, I said a second and what?
Yeah.
Like, he's been that guy, and as Matthew Hyman says, good ambassador and mentor. Nicholas at Night says, in all seriousness, a big ups to El Nino for hitting 1K. Choices TK points out, Nino loved everywhere he has played, just a good dude. Pretty cool for Winnipeg to be part of that stop. He was a pretty big part of the retooling and getting back to a competitive level. Great to see him be able to celebrate that today. One of my favorite things the last couple of years was last year when his buddies came from Switzerland for 2 weeks there, and we're just taking up the atmosphere of the arena. Yeah, it's a cool story. The Jets have had some, right? Like, Ehlers was the guy in Denmark. Nino's the guy in Swiss. They've kind of had some international appeal a little bit. Laine got them the Finland game at one point.
Yeah.
Some international flair has come through Winnipeg.
Hey, look, we're it's no secret that we're a bit of a cold climate place. We got snow and all that type of stuff. So why not feature a lot of those European players who are used to those type of conditions and things like that, and make Winnipeg the international spot.
Yes, and to answer your question, Matthew Hyman has the answer, unless there's someone that's a little bit closer. Scheifele next season. Scheifele is 91 games off.
There you go.
So if he stays healthy, Mark Scheifele will hit 1,000 games next year as a Winnipeg Jet.
That'll be a pretty cool ceremony, I'm sure.
And to add another touch, Taves hits game 1,100 in 2 games. Thank you, Matthew Hyman.
Ooh, I wonder if they're going to do anything there.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. That's a big number.
Yep.
I don't know. I think 1,000.
Not a ceremony, obviously, but like a Jumbotron thing.
Luke Shan also hits 1,100 in 6 games.
All right, I forgot we have 1,000 players who are all old as fuck. Never mind. I shouldn't have asked. That's my bad.
And Caitlin Doucette, to touch off on the Nino stuff, says no team would ever say no to adding Nino, and that says something. And Nicholas at Night says, let's pretend Chevy paid 2 seconds for Nino and just a fourth for Shen. Much more palatable.
Much more palatable.
You could put that one down the throat a little bit easier, right?
Yeah, spoonful of sugar on that one.
Let's go into From Financial Face-Off, and then I want to touch on Choices TK's point on Josh Morrissey here after that.
Awesome, let's hit it. Right on.
Right on. Mikey, and we want to hear from you in the chat. You could call in at 204-800-0409 if you want to talk some puck on the phone. But we want to hear from you in the chat. What is your From Financial Face-Off? What do you think was the difference that brought the Winnipeg Jets to their most dominant W of the season, a 5-1 game against Washington? Let us know in the chat. Mikey, what is your From Financial Face-Off tonight?
Since most of the focus so far has been on the roster construction, I want to talk about something a little more in-game. I really liked what the Jets were doing with their neutral zone play tonight. Washington's generally a team that's going to muck that shit up. They're going to really make it hard for you to work in the neutral zone. And we know that the Jets, when they are on their top game, that they have such an incredible control of the neutral zone, and I thought tonight they did as well. They were getting through with the puck, with possession. They were able to get some nice clean entries in. Even when they had to dump the puck and chase it in, they were still beating Washington right through the neutral zone all night long. And I think it's just such a big part of their game when they're successful. So I was really looking for it tonight, and it looked picture perfect. It looked exactly what you want to see when the Jets are being at their best. So yeah, for me, the From Financial Face-Off, big difference was their neutral zone play.
Hey, I like that one. And that was an area, remember last year when the Jets were at their best, they seemed to win the neutral zone game. On a night where you see them control the neutral zone, they put up their best, most convincing win of the season. Caitlin Doucette's From Financial Face-Off is the vast majority of Washington's chances were one and done. And I think that's a great takeaway today. There didn't feel like there was any sustained attack from Washington. Winnipeg did a great job of clearing things and moving things the other way. And that's been the reverse of a lot of what we've seen from the Winnipeg Jets this year.
Yeah, 100% agree.
They've been the one-and-done team. Mr. Meowcats From Financial Face-Off is God made the difference tonight as Helly healed fast. 3 weeks to the day he went in for a minor procedure. He is back in and starting on Hockey Night in Canada at a time. They definitely could use the boost, but they did not need the boost, which continues to be the most impressive part for me tonight. Elias McCracken's From Financial Face-Off is the reasons the Jets won tonight. I didn't watch the game. That was the difference.
Excellent. We found it.
Elias, time to turn the TV off for a little bit, buddy. Enjoy the family time during Christmas, but you're not allowed by that remote.
But make sure you tune in to the landing strip for all your post-game coverage. We got you covered. Don't you worry about it.
Eckers From Financial Face-Off is they seem to play hockey without worrying about anything, but the game didn't play above their stations. They did what they normally do and were consistent. We talked last show about how they were so inconsistent from shift to shift, and a sign like that was inconsistency equals bad. This was a game where they consistently did the right things, and I really like that as the From Financial Face-Off from Ecker. They did feel like a team that played loose, that didn't overthink things, that made the right reads, that trusted their line mates, that felt connected and felt like they could play up to the system for the first time in 2 months.
You know how you can tell the Winnipeg Jets had a good night if you didn't watch the game, but you only looked at the box score? Take a look at Morrissey's minutes. Right? Josh Morrissey played the lowest amount of minutes that he's played, according to Choices, all season long. 17-49 total. He only played 14-28, 5-on-5, because they didn't need him to. They didn't need him to play 30-plus minutes. They didn't need him to cover every single fucking shift because they had the other guys going. You had Dylan Sandberg back to peak form, and they were loose. Nobody was above their station. Nobody was gassed by the end of the game. You were able to roll your four lines all the way through, your three pairings for the most part. Again, the third pairing, once the third period hit, had more limited shifts. I think it was Stanley only played like a handful of shifts after the first TV timeout in that third period. But for the most part, you were able to, dole out the ice time in a more equal way and just really spread it out and take that strain off of your top guys who, they need their top guys to be right at the top every game. And it gives them a little bit of breathing room. So yeah, totally agree with that assessment.
No, that's a great thing to point out, and nice for a guy like JMO not to be needed so much on a night like this. A game like this, you didn't need to overtax Josh Morrissey, who's your best skater, in my opinion. And you didn't need to depend on your MVP and Connor Hellebuyck. I think that just saying those two things says how well the Winnipeg Jets put things together today. Because this has been a team that's been overly reliant on their star players. 0 Ghost 8 from Financial Faceoff is the power of friendship. Wins on a night where it's a big Selly for Nino and Big Daddy coming back. Do we give the power of friendship the award? The Winnipeg Jets are now 4-0 when celebrating 1,000 game ceremonies at Canada Life Center.
Yeah, I think it is the power of friendship. Both Nino Niederreiter and Scott Arniel said it in their post-game comments today. They went out and they won this game for Nino. They won this game for his 1,000th game celebration. They wanted to make sure they didn't let him down. So, yeah, I'm with them. This was the power of friendship. We're going to be handing out bracelets. I love it.
T. Will also wants to get me going. Says the From Financial Faceoff is the Jet system works way better with Helly and Net. The problem is, it's the first time we've seen the Jet system look like this in months.
If they played this way in front of Comrie, it would have been fine too, which, if you remember a year ago, they could, right? They could put together a couple games like that in front of Comrie. Not every time, but a lot of them, they were able to still play an okay game. So, look, Hellebuyck cleans up a lot of their issues. He cleans up a lot of their mistakes. They mentioned it even on the broadcast tonight, right? Having Hellebuyck back there, overall, just it cleans up the issues and things, but this was the first time that we actually saw the Winnipeg Jets system in effect, I think.
Yeah, play to its potential, at least, for sure. This was the blueprint. Anyone wants to talk blueprint? This is it.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction from the From Financial Faceoff, though. And I'm going to kind of look at it from what did the Winnipeg Jets minimalize on the other side. And this was low-key another head-to-head showing from Olympic hopefuls. Mark Scheifele versus Tom Wilson, who's got a lot of momentum in the mainstream media right now. I'm going to go my From Financial Faceoff is for a team that I think there's a bit of a narrative out there, and they've gotten hammered in the slot, specifically in the playoffs. And maybe there's a narrative out there that the Jets might be soft, let's say. The Winnipeg Jets, the From Financial Faceoff today is the Winnipeg Jets containing Tom Wilson as well as they did today for an Olympic hopeful. For a guy that I think people will look at and say, like, this guy could kind of take advantage of Winnipeg's decor. This guy could break things open for Washington. In Tom Wilson's minutes, the Winnipeg Jets outshot attempted Washington 17-6. Tom Wilson had a 36% expected goals. He was on for 2 goals against today. It didn't feel like he was dictating the style of play. It felt like things were being forced onto him. And for a guy that's on the Olympic bubble and could be a difference maker in a game like this based on how we've seen the Jets so far this year, let's go with containing Tom Wilson as the From Financial Faceoff today.
That's a good one, especially the pregame show, which I don't think you would have seen because you'd be walking to the game and stuff. They were all over Wilson. This was the Tom Wilson is the greatest power forward on the planet, video package before the game. So, yeah, for the Jets to come out and just pretty much dominate those minutes and make him look just regular is huge, right? Did it on the national game with that being the big highlight, Olympics around the corner. Yeah, couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah, I was coming in looking forward to seeing like a Shifley versus Wilson. So maybe I was coming in looking for it a bit more because of this Olympic conversation. And I think Tom Wilson is a better player than I think the detractors give him credit for.
Yep.
Because of how I think he's got the narrative of what he used to be compared to where his game has generally got to. He's a very good hockey player. He deserves to be in that convo. And he looked like just the guy tonight, which I think is a feather in the cap of the Winnipeg Jets and just how well they played this hockey game.
100% agree.
Lastly, for the From Financial Face-Off, Nicholas at Night says, the power of fettership. Nobody wants to lose when they know a Swiss tennis pro is watching.
Yeah, that's really fucking cool. Getting Roger Federer to do one of the clips for the video, that's fucking awesome. That they asked Nino in the scrum after the game. They're like, "Hey, have you ever played tennis with Federer?" And he said, "No. I think it's better for us if we don't play tennis against each other." He goes, "We'll stick to golf." Because
I guarantee
that's so cool.
Yeah, I guarantee you, Nino is one of the most interesting men on the Winnipeg Jets.
Oh yeah,
the stories that guy probably has with his history. Would love to sit down for a beer or a whiskey or whatever he likes to drink.
Absolutely.
What's a Swiss drink?
Hot chocolate? I don't know.
Nicholas at Night also says, would take Wilson on the Jets in a heartbeat. Who would not?
Yeah.
It's going to be the captain in Washington as soon as Ovi leaves.
100%.
But, okay, so you brought up Josh Morrissey, so I want to use this to pivot. Josh Morrissey plays the least amount of minutes today. Central Division is a bit of a war zone. And all of a sudden, potentially 4 of the top 4 defensemen in the NHL are within the division. We got to talk about it. Last night, I'm at this birthday celebration, not thinking anything's going to happen. And all of a sudden, Quinn Hughes goes to the little brother that's no longer the little brother, Minnesota Wild. Mikey, what was your thoughts when you saw the blockbuster that shifted the Central Division again? What is this division's defensive talent? Because it's quite impressive to see the names now in this division. Where did your mind go when Quinn Hughes landed in Minnesota?
Look, nobody likes it when their little brother gets a growth spurt and ends up taller than you. It's not cool. It's not fair. And I don't like it. It's no secret that I'm a huge Quinn Hughes fan. One of my absolute favorite defensemen just to watch game in and game out. I wanted to be in the division now is painful. We were already chasing Minnesota. I think it was Mike McIntyre on Twitter there from the Free Press who said, the Jets are now falling behind both Minnesota and Vancouver, depending on how which end of the race you're looking at. Vancouver got so much more; they got so much worse, and looking at that number 1 pick, and Minnesota got so much better in their hunt for a playoff spot. So it could not be more disastrous, to be totally honest with you, for the Jets. In a night where they had their best game, and god damn it, thankfully that happened tonight, because if they had put down another stinker after Minnesota gets this massive upgrade on the blue line, it would have been even tougher to swallow. So it's not a playoff matchup I'd be excited to go up against Minnesota going forward for any of the teams in the playoffs with Quinn Hughes back there eating up those minutes.
Yeah. Last question for you, because I'll probably go to the buffet to talk about this trade. My mind went all over the place after it. Is there a winner for you in this deal? How did you feel about the deal for both Vancouver and the Minnesota Wild?
In a vacuum, Minnesota comes away easily the better side of the trade in my mind. You got the better player. You're in the win now. This is exactly what they needed. It just, in my eyes, they got the better end of the deal. Vancouver, though, again, if you're looking at it as, well, they're trying to make sure they lose games now. They're trying to get that number 1 overall pick. If that's the kind of look at it in defense, sure, you can make a case that they didn't come out too bad with it. And also with who was actually kicking the tires on Vancouver with Hughes and everything. For all the rumors for the teams that were interested and the packages that were offered, I think they did the best they probably could have done, considering. But I still would not be, if I'm a Vancouver Canucks fan, I'm not happy.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of forced into it, and we've been into that spot, right?
Yep.
it had become clear Quinn Hughes would not be extending in Vancouver. And deals like that, it's nearly impossible to win. It is impossible when you look at the history of trading a superstar in the NHL, and it always ages towards the team that bought the star. Eric Lindros deal might be talked about because it's the rare exception to the meme.
Yep.
As far as Colorado was able to become the dynasty I fell in love with to start my hockey fandom journey. A few thoughts from the chat before I dive in fully on my thoughts as we unwrap what happened in Minnesota yesterday with the Vancouver Canucks. Palmer Lane says, Bill Guerin said he got the call while making meatballs, and talk about the best experience ever. You're cooking dinner with the wife and you're getting a call that all of a sudden Quinn Hughes is coming to your hockey team.
Yep.
Not a bad Friday night.
Pretty good.
And Palmer Lane also says Bill Guerin was, proactive. Matthew Hyman asks, Guerin leveraging Olympics to extend Hughes, which is like probably the biggest question coming out of this, because all the talk was that Quinn Hughes wanted to play with his brothers or be closer to home. And all of a sudden Minnesota says, you know what, we're going to take a bet here. We're going to bet on ourselves. And they're hoping to obviously keep a guy like that. As you said, this is a guy I think has been a top 2 defenseman the last 3 years in the NHL. There's been years where I do believe he's been a better player than Cale Makar, which is saying something.
Yep.
If you look at what was going on in Vancouver and just how bad that team's been, go look at the on-ice versus off-ice metrics for Quinn Hughes and the Vancouver Canucks. We're talking about a pretty good team when Quinn Hughes is on the ice versus a lottery team in the minutes he didn't play. They are firmly going to finish in the bottom 2 now, which is going to help because they need the lottery pick if they're going to retool that and rebuild that organization. I do think Vancouver did as best as they possibly could in these deals where you don't get max value for. Marco Rossi is a 2C we've talked about in the past, wanting to acquire. He's an NHL-ready 2C. And all of a sudden, Vancouver's center depth is pretty interesting. I might prefer it to Winnipeg's, to be honest, with EP40, Rossi, and Cheadle, if he ever stays healthy, which is an if that probably won't ever happen. Zia Boom is obviously going to be the biggest piece of this trade to kind of dictate just how well Vancouver does. He's had a tough first year out of college. Very young defenseman that everyone that's watched him coming up is convinced he's going to be a guy. Who was it? Noah Ostlund was also in that one?
Yep.
He's had a cup of coffee so far in the NHL. He's close. I'm wondering if he's going to jump right into that Vancouver lineup. And then a first-round pick. So, in essence, you got 4 first-rounders over the last few years for a guy that wasn't going to sign. I think Vancouver made the best of a bad situation. And they've really escalated the rebuild they've desperately needed.
Yep.
I imagine there's going to be more movement there over the next little while. But can I be honest with the thought I had within a few minutes of the trade, outside the fact that I really admire Bill Guerin for taking this shot. And there's risk. There's risk he could be the next Rantanen as far as not wanting to extend there.
Yep.
But if you look at the Minnesota Wild history, and you put, and I'm not saying to emphasize with the Minnesota Wild fan base, it's a rivalry I don't want to see doing well. But Minnesota has a lot of the same issues the Winnipeg Jets have, in the sense that it's not like they're a big free agent market. They haven't really had a star hockey player until Kirill Kaprizov came around, and that's why they bent over backwards to keep him. And then they bet on themselves by bringing in the top 2, Quinn Hughes, and talk about a perfect position. That's the one team that really needed offense from the back end. Everything else has been going pretty well from them, but they've been cycling through every defenseman on the PP. They haven't gotten offense from the back end. So all of a sudden you get one of the best creators in the NHL, one of the most automatic breakout defenders in the NHL for a team that's had some great breakouts in Boldy. They got Kaprizov done. Wallstead looks like he might be a franchise goalie. I admire Bill Guerin, no matter how this goes on the whole re-signing portion, for taking a shot and acquiring the best defenseman that has ever played for the Minnesota Wild and trying to keep up with the Colorados and the Dallases in a year where a lot of things are going right on what he's bet on. I think Bill Guerin last night won the GM of the Year award. He got Kaprizov extended, and I know that's been polarizing as far as how much they spent. In my opinion, that's the best winger in hockey. Number 2 at worst.
Yep.
And then he put his balls on the table and brought in a top 2 defenseman in the world, which I think is going to help their big investment in Brock Faber, who has such a polarizing debate around him. Analytics don't love him. Eye test people love him. When I've watched him in Winnipeg, I see a guy that I think that there's a real skill set for that kind of got put into that Josh Morrissey situation where maybe he was given the number 1 D spot too soon. But I think there's a real player there that's now going to be sheltered behind a Quinn Hughes. Good for Minnie. Sucks for us because it was fun to be the big brother against Minnie for a while. My question for Jets fans, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. I watched that trade yesterday, and I asked myself, how would you feel if this time next year the Winnipeg Jets are in the same spot they are currently in, where they're kind of stuck in this mushy middle? How would you feel if they got a similar return for Josh Morrissey?
Oh, that is not the question that I wanted you to ask. That is not the question at all that I wanted you to ask. I would be so upset. I would be absolutely just crushed if that was. Oh, sorry. Are we saying like the exact same return? Like it's Marco Rossi, like whatever, like in
similar. Let's just call it like that. That's level, the framework
right?
now.
Yeah, that's the
framework. Now.
So a legit 2C, a prospect first rounder that is maybe a little bit questionable at the moment, but you know there are still a lot of people high on, and then that late kind of first round pick for Morrissey, and
another NHL ready-ish prospect in Osland, who I think he's going to be a player in the NHL personally. I do think Vancouver got 3 NHLers. It's just where's the upside going to be?
Oh God. So if it's a situation where Morrissey's informed the team that he's not going to re-sign the same way that Hughes did a couple months ago, like if it's a thing like that where we're forced into it again, then yeah, you got to take it. You can't walk him, you know, but I'm still going to be crushed, you know, if and when that ends up being a possibility, because you've got Morrissey, who is underrated, I think, across the league. He doesn't quite get the love and the hype that I think his play deserves. He doesn't get the Norris consideration that I think his play maybe, you know, does deserve in these last couple seasons.
He's been a top 5 finalist.
True. Yeah, true. I don't know if you get that same star name attraction and return, you know, on a Morrissey trade. So I'm going to be real worried about losing it. It's like I said, you have to do it if you get pushed into that position. And that is the best out of a bad, you know, grouping there, but I'm still going to be absolutely crushed to see it happen.
I like where the chat's going because I've been sitting on this one. I've avoided putting it on social media, but it was my first thought, if I'm being completely honest. That's where my brain went. Parmaline says Chevy wouldn't want to make that deal. He would want to make J-Mo a Jet for life, which is my expectation, to put that quite frankly. That's what I imagine where things go.
Yep.
But I do think it's worth having the conversation here. James Zelstra says, sure, you can't keep guys too long. Younger is the way to go. Mike Friesen over on Twitch says, be honest, Mikey, take it. That return plus a bold move for a top 3 pick. And that is a factor of this, that now without Quinn Hughes, Vancouver already being in 32nd, they're setting themselves up and it's getting more assets at a younger age base because they're going to be a lottery team this year. They're going to get a bottom 3 pick in a draft that's everyone's talking up the top 4 picks.
Yeah.
They're setting themselves for the next iteration of the Vancouver Canucks roster. If the Winnipeg Jets are where they are right now, and I had this conversation around Kyle Connor, I can't change my perspective around it with Josh Morrissey, who I believe is the Winnipeg Jets' best player outside of Connor Hellebuck. The reality coming up here. He will be 33 at his contract expiry. He will be getting paid $12 to $13 million probably based on earning it over the last stretch if he continues the next year and a half. He is a top 5 defense. It hurts. But the Winnipeg Jets are stuck and are going to need to make a bold move like that. And if they got 4 assets like that and started propelling their way into another new era rather than latching onto this one until it dies on the vine, it wouldn't be easy. I don't expect anyone to be happy about the idea. I think they'd have to highly consider it. And I do think Vancouver did as well as they could. You got to consider it. You have to.
You have to. I've got a bit of a flip question for you. Is there a Winnipeg Jets package similar or comparable to what Minnesota paid for Quinn Hughes?
Not a chance.
Is there any? No, There's no.
Not a fucking
nothing
chance.
even close.
Well, Winnipeg could have dialed in. They could have been like, "Hey, Jimmy." Well, first of all, I think honestly, if I'm being honest with you, I think Chevy might have shit his pants a little trying to even ask for Quinn Hughes. that might have been a bit bold move to be fringing on here. Who was had no trade protection, but I'm not even saying I would encourage Chevy to have taken that shot, given the reality of the Jets this year. But he had no trade protection. There's nothing the Winnipeg Jets could have done to even compare to that offer. And that's why I think this Morrissey conversation matters, because they don't have the prospect pool. They're old. You can't just keep paying these guys more money to watch the decline and decay of a body here. And unfortunately, he might have to be the piece to kind of start changing your outlook of where this is going, given the timeline of his contract.
You know, it's funny. When I mentioned the Morrissey thing like about a week ago on here, looking at the contract and the situations and everything, I had some people reach out afterwards and be like, "You're insane. What are you talking about? You can't look at that. Why would you even bring that up? Don't put that out there." And now here we are. We're like, "Hey, I don't know. Morrissey might be the piece that that sparks the retool." And because yeah, like you said, they're old right now and they're not getting any younger.
It might be. Caitlin Doucette proposes Velarde, Salmonson, Perfetti in a first. I'm still taking what Minnesota gave up. I don't even give you a counter. That's how low I think the Winnipeg Jets are in a situation like this, where they can't even competitively compete. So not only can they not go get the big pieces you'd need to add to put this thing over, you don't have the pieces to do it, and you're approaching that dead zone. I think you'd have to consider it. And I know people don't want to have that combo. I think it's a real one that we're going to be having in the next 12 months. So let's think about it a little early here, because we saw the framework.
Also, can you imagine what the forward lineup looks like with Velarde and Perfetti both shipped out to bring Quinn Hughes in?
Well, I mean, they only lost Velarde. Perfetti's just the guy at this point.
You still had to fill those spots, though. You know what I mean? Like the lineup starts to look real dicey at that point, even though it's, like I said, it's not great at the moment, but it looks real dicey there.
Oh, for Quinn Hughes, worth it. I'd do it in a heartbeat. Wouldn't even think twice. Wouldn't even think 3 times. James Zelstra says, "Why keep making excuses and promises to fans when the writing's on the wall and team only has so long together? Newer generations start with a top 5 player." You see the vision,
Nailed it.
James. You see the vision. It's gonna get harder and harder. Something to consider. I'm just floating it out there. Just floating it out into the atmosphere. We'll see what happens. Mikey, you had some quotes you were interested in from a one-on-one with Kyle Connor. I'll pitch it your way. What do you want to talk about from Kyle Connor's own thoughts this week with Paul Friesen?
You know, it's kind of funny with the way that the game went today and the way things have kind of been going lately. It was, it's an interesting discussion that Paul Friesen got to have with Kyle Connor sitting down doing a one-on-one. So I've got some of the quotes here. So this was before today's game. Or it was yesterday. So before the game, Connor said, "We've tried just about everything under the sun to try and get everybody going," Connor was saying on Friday. "It's everybody's responsibility now. Guys have got to take ownership. Personally, I've got to take ownership and be a lot better. That's where the mindset needs to be. Stop pointing fingers, stop blaming, stop looking around. That's where it just spirals and you're creating excuses for yourself. So that's where we're at now." He goes on to say, "Anyone expecting a magic bullet from GM Kevin Cheveldayoff in the form of a big move," Connor says, "is only going to make things worse. Quote, that's how it spirals out of control. You don't take responsibility for your actions. We're not looking for someone to bail us out. It needs to be here. I don't think we can go up to Chevy and start naming players that we want on this team." And there's 2 parts to what Connor's saying there that I think are both interesting and equally important. One being they've tried everything almost under the sun to make the lineup work, and it just hasn't been going. I do want to point out there is one option under the sun that we have purposely avoided trying out, it feels like, at this point. But we're going to blow past that for a second. The other part of it being that you can't be looking for outside help to right this ship. Because again, the issues they were having were not a one player problem. This was not just a, one singular hole that needed to be filled and everything was going to fall into place. They were having real structural issues up and down the lineup, whether it be, overplaying, injuries, whatever it is. It just was not working from a structural system standpoint. And I think that's what Connor was saying there, that they had to be better. They needed to make sure that the system was right and in place before you can even think about adding guys in from outside. And that's the message we've been kind of harping at since the beginning of the year. Or at least I've been trying to. I feel snake bit after that trade deadline last year. I don't want it to be that, help is going to be parachuting in to save the day anymore. If they want to be a contender, and that's what they keep telling us, then the improvements have to come from internal. They've got to be better themselves first before they can look at adding. And I think that's kind of what Connor was saying there a little bit too.
Yeah, my thoughts, and they bounce around a couple of ways because I do see it a little bit different than yourself. I was really impressed with Kyle Connor, who's normally a pretty quiet, soft-spoken individual. Felt like his answers were very mature and very leader-like.
Yeah.
Really accountable. On the topic and this idea that the answers can't come from outside the org, I just don't buy that this is real life. It's not real. The idea that the answers are within the org and they got to simply figure out, they got to try harder, they got to push this better. It's not real. It doesn't exist. The answers aren't currently in Winnipeg. It takes the GM off the hook because the issues are a lack of talent in how this roster is built. I admire Kyle Connor as an individual, putting it on his shoulders and trying to grab this thing and say, it's up to us. That's great. I think that's a great individual thing to do. I think it's very leader-like. It's admirable in a sense. But the reality is, the answers aren't in Winnipeg. And buying into the idea that the answers are in Winnipeg is just going to lead to the same mistakes that you believe can be fixed by just who's here in Winnipeg. Because it's not. It's not. This is a Kevin Cheveldayoff mess. And to get the real answers that are actually going to propel this to this idea of a contender, which they are far from at this moment, despite today's effort, have to come from outside the organization because they don't exist in Winnipeg. They don't currently – they aren't in the farm system with the Moose. As much as the Play the Kids movement exists, no orgs rush in and call up a player with 4 points in 11 games or 2 points in 9 like Lambert and Chibrikov. Nothing about that says they could be answers. And despite a quality game today, what we've seen from this roster internally, there's not a chance that answer exists. So – as much as I admire it, and I get why the thought process exists, I feel it takes the GM off the hook because the answers aren't there. And it puts the pressure on the team when the GM has failed to give them those answers. I get the idea of that you can't buy unless you have a contender. And there's something to be said for it. But the reality is I don't see the answers in Winnipeg. So this idea that it's just going to magically fix itself, don't buy it. The other thing I'll say, again, really like how I approach this, but for a guy that wants to take some accountability and grab a piece of this, part of grabbing a piece of this might be splitting up with Mark Scheifele, trying to get more things going. Now, it didn't need to be done today, and I do think with Connor Hellbuck in the net, and I will say just my own vibe in the arena and the trust with the Jets with Hellbuck out there changes. As soon as we had a couple of goals, I felt like we were going to win. I haven't said that in a while.
I guess for me, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just to finish up on that thought is that you've tried almost everything under the sun, and you want to take accountability of this. It might be time. It might be time to finally try the thing that's been left out from under the sun. If you're going to talk the talk, let's see the walk the walk.
Yeah, it was like, I don't know if it's irony. I don't know if it's whatever, but it's a little bit funny to have them say, yeah, we've tried almost everything under the sun and nothing really's worked outside of the one thing that national media, local media, fans, that people have just been screaming for. It seems a little funny to exclude that from the equation. I guess for me, and this may feel more like a semantics thing or whatever, I don't think answers, quote unquote, need to be positive, right? You can get an answer on this team being a negative thing, right? You can get the answer that this is not a, contending team, that the talent level isn't good enough to be a Stanley Cup, real threat. I feel like that is also an answer though, right? Like I feel like, when we're saying, for me, again, I can only speak for myself, but when I say that the answer can't come from outside, the answer needs to come internally first, I don't mean that the Stanley Cup competition, that, that step to the next level is what's coming internally. The answer could be, we've gotten the answer that no, this group as constructed is not good enough. And that is an answer that the GM needs to then, work on. So I guess for me, that's just kind of where, I maybe misunderstood what the discussion was about a little bit, because I'm thinking, of course you can get an answer this way. We can now find out that they're not good enough as currently constructed and that they need to do better. And maybe it is time for a retool. To me, that is an answer still, but I understand a little bit better now that what we're saying is, the improvement, like that portion of it isn't going to come internally because they don't have the talent level. So I guess that's just why, I kind of misunderstood a little bit and where my brain got stuck.
No, it makes sense. And that's just, how I see it, and why a quote like that to me is, I think it's great. I think it's a great approach from Kyle Connor. I just don't buy that it's possible. Yep.
And also, you're going to get that type of quote, I think, from most athletes on a team. Very few are going to come out and say, the guys that I, sit in the locker room with day in and day out aren't good enough. Right? Very few players are going to come out and say that. You see it once in a while from a disgruntled guy who then gets shipped out of town a week later. So I can understand that part a little bit.
Question for you here. So James Elstra says, it is a big climb to make a push when February comes around, and the Jets need to be transparent and move out the guys who they sign in the summer and retool for what your needs are, which includes a second-line center. I got an honest question here. Is Logan Stanley the most marketable trade asset for the Winnipeg Jets currently?
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, probably. Considering the players that they have signed, the pending free agents aren't worth a dime at the moment. The guys that you signed aren't worth anything playing on the fourth line. The guys that are coming up this year at the end of the year don't have a whole ton of value. You could maybe move a Nino if you wanted to. As we talked about earlier, teams always see value in him, but he's got an extra year still attached. Yeah, outside of Logan Stanley, no, I don't think any of the pending UFAs are really worth, unless somebody's going to pay, 2 seconds for, a certain player or something. But no, it's not happening, I don't think. But Logan, that's an interesting one I had not considered. I hadn't considered Logan Stanley being a rental option. It'll be, I think you'd have to pry him from Kevin Cheveldayoff's cold, dead fingers. But it's something to look at for sure.
Yeah, I think that's where the complication of the idea of trading him comes, is because at the end of the day, it's been true for a decade. It's probably going to be true for the rest of his career. The Winnipeg Jets organization has valued the player more than the rest of the league since 2016.
Yep.
I'm expecting a contract extension. I would very much prefer not to be the sucker. I would rather be ripping off another sucker. And if you could even get one of those second round picks you inexplicably gave up for Brandon Tanev or Luke Shen, I'd be content. You got to take this hot streak and you got to parlay this into some real future value for the Winnipeg Jets. You cannot sink the asset by giving that player an extension. And as soon as he gets an extension, you sink the value. Yeah.
Unfortunately, any hope I have for that being the case went out the window with the Neil Pionk extension. God, I was really hoping that was we're building a case. Let's get this guy's name out there, counting stats, building that value. We're going to cash in huge on this pending. Never mind. He's here forever. So I feel like we're going to go down that road again here with Logan Stanley. I feel like that extension's coming.
The funny thing is, I think you could have got Marco Rossi for Neil Pionk, which kind of hurts.
Oh, don't say that. Don't do that
I
to
actually
me.
do.
Don't
I
do
believe
that.
it.
I would have made that
I
deal in a
believe
heartbeat.
it.
In a heartbeat. No question about it.
Nicholas Knight says you rebuild the franchise around Stan.
As a forward, though, right? I think James Duthie has him on the first line for Team Canada after tonight. I saw on Twitter.
James Duthie might be cooking.
That was pretty good, yeah.
Let's get into the 3 stars. And then we got on a night the Winnipeg Jets GOAT comes back. The wrestling GOAT is leaving the spotlight.
Bum, bum,
The
bum,
last time is now.
Bum, 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 bum.
We got some Saturday night's main event to get to on
Yep.
this Saturday night. Let's get into our 3 stars, and we'll move on with the evening here.
Let's hit it. Right on.
Mikey, who's your 3 stars on this night?
Awesome. So, number 3 in his return, he didn't have to do a whole hell of a lot, but I'm going to give him a star anyways. Connor Hellebuck, welcome back to the show. God, we missed you. It is a different game with Hellboy back there. It feels better, you know what I mean, to see the best goalie in the goddamn world play for you. So, Hellebuck, even though he didn't have to do a whole lot tonight, I'm going to give him my 3rd star. Number 2, it feels like he's also back, baby. It's Dylan Sandberg. He makes the game look so much easier for the rest of the lineup, for the rest of the team when he is on. Having 2 number 1 pairing, level defensemen like that is just, it can't be understated how important it is. And number 1, we did the Macarena all night long. Give him 2 more. He's got the last 4 straight power play goals for the Winnipeg Jets. He's got 5 goals in his last 5 games. Good luck, Gabe. Gabe Velarde, number 1 star.
Nicholas at night is really cooking here. You get Stan to play forward, D, and goalie like the hockey version of primetime. That's how you rebuild the franchise.
Let's kill him, man.
Ecker's 3 stars were 3rd Barron, 2nd Stan, 1st Nino. I'm going to go an honorable mention to Adam Lowry. I think he's had some troubles coming off the hip. I think that's something we should expect. I thought this was a night with Morgan Barron. We saw a spark from the Jets' 2nd most important center. So I'm going to go Adam Lowry, 3rd star, or honorable mention. 3rd star, I'm going to go. He got the boys going. He's on the highlight reel. 1st goal of the night. Selly's electric. The Stanimal is pumping that trade value for a team that's outside the playoff line to trade off a big 6'7" hulking offensive presence. I will be selling this guy like the next coming for the next few months. Keep scoring, kid. Keep earning that money. Just sign the deal elsewhere. Logan Stanley. 2nd, I'm going to go Mr. 1000. I'm a sucker for 1,000-game ceremonies. 1st guy from his country. Golfs with Roger Federer. Got the looks, got the hockey talent. Became a 1 of 1 from Switzerland. Nino's 1,000th. He's going to be my 2nd star. And then the 1st star, the Macarena. People were doing it all over the 300s. Gabe Velarde. Couple more goals. The Winnipeg Jets win 5-1. We will see you Monday.
Hold on. We got one more real quick. Sorry. I almost forgot. We had another milestone tonight. Josh Morrissey, 400 career points. Only 17 back of the all-time leader list for your Winnipeg Jets. This season, he's going to be your top-scoring defenseman of all time.
There you go. I'm glad you didn't let me miss that. I totally missed that today. We will see you after the Ottawa Senators game Monday. Thank you for being a part of the show. The Winnipeg Jets give us their most convincing game of the year. Can they build off of it versus Ottawa at home? We'll find out Monday.
Right on. Good night, everybody.
up.